op dit moment in Amsterdam, ergens op een gracht. Nou ja, vlakbij de Melkweg, want daar speelt vanavond Maribou State. Na 6 jaar zijn ze weer aan het toeren. Er is een hele hoop gebeurd in die afgelopen 6 jaar. Vandaag is het vrijdag en dit is ook de dag, 31 januari, dat hun nieuwe album Hallucinating Love is uitgekomen. Dus we hebben een heleboel om te bespreken. Laten we beginnen. Liam and Chris, welcome back to Amsterdam.
Thank you very much.
You just told me in a little walk over here on a very typical Dutch bridge in Amsterdam that you've been playing here more than you've played London.
Yeah, definitely close to. It's a city that we've been coming to for a long time. In the early days DJing, this was actually the first show we ever did abroad out of the UK was in Amsterdam. Which would have been 12, 13, maybe 14 years ago now.
It's the first time you're back on stage with new music.
Yeah.
How is everything going? Also regarding to your mental health, your physical health, and you had a brain operation? Brain surgery,
that was over a year ago now. I mean, feeling really good, to be honest.
Perfect.
So yeah, so much better than I have been this time last year. Yeah. And getting back on stage was a challenge, I think, for all of us, because it's the first time we've been on tour in about 6 years, so there's a lot of work in getting the show in the right place and getting all the crew on the same page as us. But I think by the third show last night, we're all in a really good spot. And
we're also doing the gig sober this time round as well, which is a big shift. Very confronting being on stage and having to really ground yourself and being in the moment without any additional support from alcohol.
Yeah,
so it's
I can
been an
imagine.
Interesting journey.
And I want to go back because I saw some posts on Instagram the last couple of weeks. You've been teasing the album, of course. And I almost felt jealous of the way you were hanging out with people in the studio, recording things on a staircase. Like, how is that process? Because you take a long time. Is it also your comfort place?
That's exactly it. It's a comfort thing, but also we need the focus, and those writing trips that we do, it's about getting us out of routine, getting us out of London, finding a space where we can really switch off from the outside world and really zone in creatively. And as the trips, we've done those trips for years, and as they've developed, they've become a bit grander and we've taken more kit. And more recently, the last one we did, we've actually started inviting friends down and incorporating them into the recording process, but also just having them around us to create even more of a comfortable environment, you know, having the loved ones around you. So yeah, they've become incredibly important to us.
Do that for you, and if your world's breaking, I do that for you, and if your world's breaking, you never think of yourself, even if your world's breaking. Do that for you, oh, do that for you, do that for you.
Do you pressure yourself into there has to be an outcome, there's an intention when you write and when you invite people over? Like what was the thought process in that?
I suppose because we're always doing these writing trips when we know that the album deadline's coming up and we've set, you know, this target when wants to be finished. I think if we did the trips when there was no goal of like the album needing to be done, it would be totally free and liberated.
Yeah.
But I actually remember on the last album when we went away on a writing trip, it was just me, Liam, and another guy called Jack Sibley, who we produced with a lot. And actually, I remember feeling a hell of a lot of pressure on that particular writing trip and having really bad insomnia and stuff. So obviously the trip itself does, you know, like all of the energy that goes into it, it does like add a lot.
Yeah.
The very first one we ever did with Jack, which was for a different project, there was no expectation whatsoever about what the trip was for, just to write some music. We spent 5 days on the trip and we wrote 5 songs.
Yeah. And all of them
were really good in our opinion. So it was like, yeah, the pressure unfortunately is there and it does impact.
This album Hallucinating Love is coming out in winter time. Well, you're wearing a t-shirt. I don't know how you do that because I'm freezing, but anyway, I read some review that it's almost pushing the button, like it's not summer yet, but it sounds like
okay.
summer. Is it also because you had a different process maybe in bringing the music out, being ready to go on tour, that you were kind of anticipating summertime with this, and now you're in winter?
This is exactly right. This is the earliest date that we could basically get it out. So, ideally it would have been a summer record.
I think by the time it resonates, it will be a summer record, you know?
Yeah.
Because we put out our last album in June time, but I think by the time it connects with everyone, then it's kind of the winter, and at the festivals that time round it hadn't fully connected, but by this summer I think you know
it will.
On a deeper, off-the-cuff conceptual kind of level, it fits with what the album's about in terms of it's supposed to make you feel hopeful in a very challenging time, and in a way, hearing it for the first time in winter when things might feel more challenging, hopefully the record will be that hopeful, looking forward to the brighter times, which will be.
And that's the reason why we
summer.
actually put it out now.
And that's actually the reason why we did it, The hallucinating word has no context in terms of inebriation or it's more it's a lovely descriptive word for us that conjures up the ideas of dreaming, future thought. We probably also like the connotations that come with it in terms of like, you know, the 60s and like Hendrix and like that kind of side to it. Also like, it just conjures up a lot of really brilliant, bright, beautiful imagery when you think about hallucinations. It's definitely supposed to be a positive angle, but it doesn't reflect where we were at in terms of taking drugs or anything like that. But in terms of what I was talking earlier about doing these shows sober now, the last time we were touring in 2019 was obviously 5-6 years ago. We've all grown so much as people, and we have been through a lot in terms of physical and mental health, and now we're taking much better care of ourselves. So that's been a kind of side decision from possibly what it feels connected to that hallucinating word is actually completely separate.
I think it's also like you're in a place and you're hallucinating your way out of it. So you're kind of relying on fantasy or relying on intention to get somewhere else, or like dreaming about it's future.
It's dreaming,
related.
basically.
Yeah.
And that is essentially what the album has been. Like the music has been those sort of, for us, those like hallucinations. You know, those little moments that have taken us out of that sort of dark period we were in, and like put us in a place that felt much brighter.
We're so happy that the record's out, and we hope that people who listen to it can extract a small amount of hope to push them to a potentially brighter place that they might be in, just as it did for us creating it. And if a small part of that is picked up by people, then we'd be so happy with that.
Well, it already had that effect on me, because I'm in wintertime in Amsterdam now, and I was like imagining myself during a summer festival
Perfect.
dancing in the sun with my
Job
friends.
done.
There you go.
Job done.
Yeah.